Hey there, people. So today I'm going to tell you all about the best guns in Terraria. In fact, I'm going to tell you not only the absolute best guns, but I'm going to tell you the best guns all the way through the game that you can use at all the different stages of the game. I'm going to do these roughly in order. We'll start with pre-hard mode. I'm going to talk specifically about guns that use bullets. I'm not including launchers and stuff, with only 3 exceptions, and one of those is right at the beginning of the game. If you're just starting out, one of the things, it's kind of an honorable mention, that you can get if you happen to be exploring the underground ice biome is the Snowball launcher, or Snowball cannon actually. And you can find that in ice chests in the underground snow biome early on. It's not an incredibly powerful weapon, but if you're just starting out, it's easy to find, easy to use. You can craft snowballs out of snow, so it's a good start at the very beginning. But the first real gun that you'll usually get is normally either the Musket or the Undertaker, because when you smash your first Shadow Orb in a Corruption world, or if you smash your first Crimson Heart in a Crimson world, and in the Corruption world, smash a Shadow Heart, you will get a Musket, which is actually a reasonably powerful gun. Especially for pre-hard mode, obviously, it's reasonably powerful. It'll get you through most of the way through pre-hard mode. And the Undertaker is what you get if you're in a Crimson world. It's not quite so powerful, actually, but it does fire faster. So once you have your first gun, the arms dealer will arrive, and from him you can buy the Minishark. It has a higher DPS than the Undertaker, damage per second, but not higher than the Musket. As you can see, it fires quickly, but it's pretty low damage, so it's reasonable, but it's less effective against high defense enemies like bosses. It has a 1/3 chance of not using ammunition, which helps to offset that higher fire rate, so you're not going through too many bullets. Now you can also get the Boomstick, and that's an alternative that you might get before you go down into the Corruption or the Crimson. You can get that in the underground jungle. In the jungle shrines, you'll find that in chests down there, and that, as you can see, it's a shotgun, boomstick, shotgun, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness reference. It'll fire a 3 or 4 shot spread from 1 bullet, and obviously that's more useful at short range where you're actually going to hit the enemy with as many of those bullets as possible. Higher DPS than the previously mentioned weapons. Next one that you might get along the way is the Handgun. So the Handgun you'll find in dungeon chests. Once you get down into the dungeon, you defeat Skeletron, get down there, open up some locked gold chest, and you will find a Handgun. It's got a similar DPS to the Boomstick, but it has another important use, and that is that you can craft the Phoenix Blaster from the Handgun. So you'll want to find yourself a Handgun and get yourself, after that, you'll need to go down to Hell and get some Hellstone, because the the Phoenix Blaster is crafted from a Handgun plus 10 Hellstone bars at an anvil. So I'm sitting at an anvil, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, just so I can actually show you. The Phoenix Blaster, 10 Hellstone bars, and a Handgun, and you can see the Handgun is 28 base damage, the Phoenix Blaster is 40, that's with my bonuses, mind you. Yours won't probably be that high, especially that early in the game, but it's definitely more powerful. And that is an excellent weapon for pre-hard mode. I hear it's awfully useful against the Wall of Flesh. Now, the other 2 exceptions that I'm going to make as far as guns that fire bullets and ones that don't are also pre-hard mode. Towards the later part of pre-hard mode, you can make the Sandgun is one of those, and you can make that once you have your arms dealer. You can visit him at night and buy some illegal gun parts, combine that with 10 antlion mandibles and 5 topaz, and you can make this Sandgun, which actually fires sand, so you got plenty of ammo if you go to your desert, and it's a pretty high DPS weapon. It's comparable to the Phoenix Blaster. It's pretty close. Higher base damage but slower. Again, it's actually pretty useful against the Wall of Flesh. The only problem is that it leaves sand everywhere. So like you can see, if I actually fire this at a surface, ground mostly, you can see it's going to start leaving sand everywhere. And the more often you fire that, the more sand you're going to have laying around everywhere. So that's one little annoying thing about it, but otherwise it's a reasonably powerful gun. The other bonus is that you can actually collect that sand and get your ammo back. Now, the most powerful pre-hard mode ranged weapon, actually the highest DPS, is the Star Cannon. You can make the star cannon by buying that Minishark from the arms dealer, combine it with 20 meteorite bars and 5 fallen stars at your anvil, and that has a huge high DPS, and as you can see, it pierces through enemies. It keeps going, so it's good for crowd control. It's also good against bosses because of the high base damage. It's the highest DPS of any pre-hard mode ranged weapon, but the only limitation is it uses fallen stars as ammo, so ammo is kind of hard to come by. You can only get so much of it, really. But it's a very powerful weapon, and I was a big fan of that on my first playthrough. Now, when you get into hard mode, as you're getting into hard mode, I'm showing you most of these guns. I'm not going to show you this one because I don't have one, but you have a 1 in 6 chance of actually getting a Clockwork assault rifle when you defeat the Wall of Flesh. So right at the literal beginning of hard mode, you might get at the Clockwork assault rifle. It uses 1 bullet for every 3-round burst. It fires bursts of 3, but it only uses 1 bullet for each, so that saves you some ammo. It has a high rate of fire. It's a powerful gun, but I never got one, so I'm not going to show you that one. But the next thing you can do, once you're in hard mode, you can go to your arms dealer, and if you have 25 gold, you can buy a shotgun. It's basically an upgraded version of the Boomstick, similar damage per second to the Clockwork assault rifle. It's a 3 to 5 shot spread for each bullet fired, and as you can see, basically more powerful version of that Boomstick. And another thing, since the 1.3 update, currently PC only, but coming to some other platforms soon, you can actually take this shotgun that you buy from the arms dealer and you can upgrade it. So you can craft that into the Onyx blaster if you're on PC or one of the platforms once they get the update. You can make the Onyx blaster, and as you can see, that's a shotgun plus 2 dark shards and 10 souls of night. And this is actually a really nice, powerful weapon. In terms of basic damage and damage per second, it doesn't seem much more powerful than the shotgun, but when you fire it, you can see that in fact it is much more powerful because if you take a quick look there, it's got that black explosive projectile added to the shotgun blast, and that explosive projectile actually does double the damage of the bullets that it's firing, and it's an explosive area effect projectile. So you can see it does damage to all of those little dummies there that I set up, and it does a lot more damage just from that one projectile that's added to the bullets. The bullets are there as well. Otherwise, it's similar to the shotgun. So yeah. Once you've got that, well, once you're moving along past that, another thing that I did not actually get because it's a bit rare of a find is the Gatligator from the Traveling Merchant. You can buy that for 35 gold if you're lucky enough that your Traveling Merchant happens to have it, and that's on all platforms. It's very fast, but also very inaccurate. It's a reasonably powerful weapon. And you can get all those ones I've mentioned so far, you can get at the beginning of hard mode. Now the next one, you're going to have to wait until you defeat the Destroyer, but very powerful, very famous gun is the Megashark. And I'm going to show you why that's so famous in a second, but basically it's an early hard mode gun. You do have to defeat the Destroyer because you'll need your illegal gun parts from your arms dealer at night, a Minishark also from your arms dealer, and 5 shark fins, which you'll need to kill some sharks in the ocean, or now they have the sand sharks in the desert. If you do have the 1.3 update, you can get those there as well. And 20 souls of might. The 20 souls of might are the part that comes from the Destroyer. It's a very high fire rate. And so this gun is like pretty famous because it will carry you from that point in hard mode basically through a good chunk of the game. It's got a very high fire rate, it's got good damage, and 50% chance not to consume ammo. I'm not going to talk about types of ammo in this video, but I'm using, you can see my little number below that where it shows the amount of ammo I have is not going down because I'm using an endless musket pouch. If you get 3, I think it's 3 stacks of 9.99 muskets, you can make one of those. Anyway, so Megashark is very powerful and it will carry you through a good chunk of hard mode. Now, I'm going to actually just take 1 second to swap out my weapons so I can show you the rest of them. Okay, and we're back. I've got next up the Uzi. Now, the Uzi is actually kind of similar to the Megashark. It's pretty comparable. Technically, it has a slightly lower damage per second, but it has a higher base damage, which makes it useful against bosses and such things. And it also upgrades the speed of the bullets, which can help your accuracy when you're in a fierce firefight. Technically, you can get the Uzi from the very start of hard mode, but it's an extremely rare drop from the Angry Trappers. Those are, you know, the vine things that snap at you in the jungle. There's the ones that you have from the beginning in the jungle, and the Angry Trappers are the hard mode versions. They're the yellow ones that are a little nastier. It's a 1 in 100 or 1 in 200 chance to get that from those Angry Trappers, so it's a very rare drop. Again, that's depending on which platform you're on, that chance rate. But it is a nice gun, and I actually on my playthrough farmed it because I thought it would be more useful against the bosses when my Megashark was becoming a little less useful. As you can see, those bullets travel extremely fast. It basically upgrades them to equivalent to high velocity bullets. So you can see the fire rate's a little slower, but ultimately that can be useful against high defense enemies. Now, another one I'm not going to show you because I didn't get it is the Venus Magnum, which is a 1 in 7 drop from Plantera. It's similar to this Uzi. It's basically a slight upgrade of the stats. It has the high velocity bullets and everything, but a much higher DPS. Unfortunately, no auto fire. So that's one, if you're lucky enough to get that when you defeat Plantera, it's an excellent weapon. Now, once you've defeated Plantera, you have some more available, and one of those is the tactical shotgun, which you'll find in the dungeon. Again, basically an upgrade of the shotgun style weapons. It auto-fires a 6-shot spread from each bullet you fire. As you can see, nice spread, good at close range, or you can use chlorophyte bullets, and those bullets will all home in, and that gives you very good ammo efficiency, and it's a powerful gun. Again, that's available after defeating Plantera. It's a fairly rare drop from tactical skeletons in the dungeon. Tactical skeletons themselves are rare, but they can be detected by the lifeform analyzer, and they're most common in areas of the dungeon with tiled walls. And speaking of the dungeon, another famous weapon, the sniper rifle. And I did a whole video just on this gun, but this has the highest base damage and critical strike chance of any gun. It's a very slow rate of fire, however, and it's not auto fire. But you can see very high damage per shot, and it is ultimately very high DPS as well. So the damage and the critical strike chance were actually increased with the 1.3 update. So if you're on a platform that has that, it's actually more powerful since then. And that's also in the dungeon after defeating Plantera. It's dropped by skeleton snipers in areas with slab walls. So it's a different area of the dungeon where you're more likely to find the skeleton snipers. Now the Chaingun. Another pretty famous weapon, and ultimately this is the most powerful gun in versions of the game that do not have the 1.3 update. You get this during the Frost Moon. It's the fastest fire rate of any gun, and it's a higher base damage than the Minishark, plus an even faster fire rate, with the same similar 50% chance of not consuming ammunition. It's dropped by Santa NK1, the sort of mini-boss during the Frost Moon. And you can see it just blasts out. Really blasts those bullets, and that can be very, very effective, and again, very useful against later hard mode enemies. Highest DPS of any gun before the 1.3 update. Now, next, I'm going to show you, I've got these mostly in order of when you're going to get them as well as their DPS, but this is a slight exception. Technically, the Xenopopper here, and the rest of them, by the way, are 1.3 update and onward. So currently, if you're not on PC, you're not going to be able to get these. You will be able to get them on Xbox One and PS4 soon, and so on. Platforms are going to be getting the 1.3 update. Some will not, so you may or may not be able to get these right now. You may be able to get them later if you get the update. But anyway, the Xenopopper technically has the highest, the second highest DPS of any gun, but it's awkward to use, and let me show you why. So you can see, it actually doesn't directly fire bullets. You push fire, it fires those little bubbles. And then those bubbles actually fire bullets. And you can see I can fire the bubbles up there and then move my cursor, and the bubbles fire the bullets in the direction of where the cursor then is. But it's kind of awkward because you can see it fires 4 to 5 bubbles for each bullet used, and then they each fire 1 shot. So it's sort of like a shotgun, but there's that lag when you're firing, which affects its usefulness. I actually got this, and you get this from the Martian Madness event. When you defeat the Martian Saucer, it has a chance to drop this. And that's actually exactly where I did get this in my playthrough, as a drop from the Martian Saucer. But I found that this lag makes it kind of difficult to use. Again, it's more useful with chlorophyte bullets because you don't have to worry as much about whether your bullets are going the right direction. But just that lag makes it kind of a pain to use. So I would consider the next one, the Vortex Beater. I preferred this one. Again, 1.3 onward. This is a high base damage, fast firing speed, and a 2/3 chance. That's the highest chance to not consume ammunition. It fires an explosive along with the bullets. So in that sense, that extra little projectile, explosive projectile, is sort of like the Onyx blaster. And you can see it doesn't always fire that, but that explosive projectile is very powerful as well. The explosives do not hurt the player when you're firing it, so if you fire this close to yourself, you're not going to hurt yourself. And that is crafted, that's very late game. It's crafted from 8 Vortex fragments at the Ancient Manipulator after defeating the Vortex Pillar. And you can see it does a lot of damage. I found that actually, that was my favorite weapon when I was first fighting the Moon Lord. I found that more useful than the Chaingun. The Chaingun's often recommended, but I found the Vortex Beater to be better for me anyway. Now the most powerful weapon, most powerful gun that fires bullets in the entire game is at the very end of the game. It's the S.D.M.G, and that has by far the highest DPS of any gun in the game, a 50% chance of not consuming ammunition. The base damage is second only to the sniper rifle, but the firing rate is second only to the chain gun. So when you combine those, it's got the second fastest firing rate and the second highest damage per shot, which together makes it by far the most powerful damage per second. And you can see it's very accurate, actually. Unlike the chain gun and a lot of the automatic weapons, it's actually a highly accurate gun as well. And that has a 1 in 9 chance to be dropped by the Moon Lord, which is currently, at least, at the very end of the game. So this is an endgame weapon, and it's the most powerful gun, and that's basically that. So that's all the guns you can get. Well, not all the guns you can get. I skipped a few that are slightly less useful or less powerful. Like there's a flintlock pistol you can buy from the arms dealer. Like there are a few extra guns that I skipped over because I didn't see them as being that powerful or that useful. So hope you liked the video. That's an overview of what guns you're going to want at different points of the game, the best guns overall, and obviously the last few are the most powerful. So hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.